The massive door opened with a loud creak, and I slammed it shut. I managed to find shelter before the snowstorm. But now what? I might freeze to death in this abandoned town. I thought back to what happened a few hours ago. I can't believe they just left me here. I thought they were joking around, but they never came back. For now, I should just try to stay warm. I turned on my flashlight and shined it around the dark room. This building was in worse shape than the others I explored in this town. I think this was an old theater or something. The huge chandelier had crashed to the floor long ago, leaving it stuck inside a snow-filled crater in the floor and a massive hole in the ceiling. Most of the windows were broken or covered by rotting wooden boards. Dust and cobwebs nearly covered the entire place. The steps on the stairs were rotted so badly, so going to the second floor was out. I looked down, seeing that I was stepping on a faded brochure. Or are these things called playbills? I picked it up to take a look with my flashlight, and I could make out what some of the images were supposed to be, like the lead actors and the stage sets. The only words of the play's title I could make out were Lady and Snow. I walked across the lobby's creaky floor to the door across from me. This opened to a hallway. I made my way to the other side, avoiding the holes in the floors. The stage was beyond the next door. Rows of seats were covered in dust and cobwebs. The balcony seats were falling apart, and one of them was gone completely. Snow fell into the orchestra area and part of the stage through a hole in the ceiling. And when I climbed up onto it, even the stage itself was riddled with holes. Moving beyond the moth-eaten curtains, I found the set pieces. A massive Christmas tree, light fixtures that look like crystals, faded backdrops. It was hard to believe looters didn't make off with this stuff a long time ago, or the owners didn't auction it all off. All of it probably would have made a fortune back in the day. I followed the hallway to my left and found the dressing rooms. Fully stocked makeup stations were left to rot, and racks of costumes were left to be eaten by moths and rats. But that was just perfect for me. I took as much of the tattered clothes as I could carry and went into one of the rooms. I think this was one of the lead actress's rooms. A rack of glittery dresses of different colors was still here, in even worse shape than the ones out in the hall. Accompanying each dress was a pair of matching ballet shoes tied to the rack. On the vanity were vases of flowers that had been withered beyond recognition. There were so many of them. She must have had so many fans. I wondered what became of her after this place was abandoned. This room had a fireplace, so I dumped the clothes into it and set my lighter to them. I added a couple of the logs that remained by the fireplace, and I managed to get a fire going. I just need to keep it from going out. Things were starting to look up. I stayed by the warmth of the fire, prepared to spend a long night waiting out the storm. How long was I asleep? My fire had died down a little, and I scrambled to add another log to it. I got up and ran to the rack to grab more scraps of clothes. That was when I heard it. Was that music? Was someone else here? Did they come back for me? But why were they playing music? I went back out to the stage. The music was a sad song played with a piano and a violin. There was a single person at the center of the stage, wearing a tattered light blue dress. The storm must have passed, leaving the glitter in the dress to sparkle in the pale moonlight. It looked like she was dancing, but her movements were slow. Her head rolled from side to side, as if she couldn't hold it up. Is she okay? As I got closer, I started to hear the pained moans and grunts she let out. It was as if every move she made was painful, but she kept going. Her black hair was wild and full of knots. Her tights and gloves were badly torn, and she was missing a ballet shoe. Closer and closer, I noticed the dark stains on her pale skin and clothes. Maybe it was dirt or mud. Whenever she turned to face me, I noticed a lump in her chest. There seemed to be a cut along the middle, and it was badly bruised. It looked like her eyes were closed, but she managed to avoid the holes in the stage. Had she danced here so many times that she memorized where they were? Excuse me. The woman stopped. Her back was to me, so I couldn't see her face. Was she angry that I interrupted her? I took a step back, fidgeting my fingers. I'm sorry, but... A raspy moan was her response. I tilted my head in confusion. What is it? Are you trying to tell me something? I took a step closer to her. She raised her head. She slowly turned around, and I quickly backed away. Her eyes were completely white. Run. Ah! Her eyes closed, and her head drooped back. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears as her body violently convulsed. She arched her back, and these grotesque lumps formed under her skin and started moving. It was like something had taken residence in her body, and it was wildly making its presence known. She let out these horrible noises. Each grunt and moan sounded almost like a gargled scream. And I stood there watching it all unfold, trying desperately to make sense of it. And then, suddenly, it all stopped. She became perfectly still, taking shallow breaths. Miss? This is... She slowly straightened, and I was frozen in place. My heart threatened to beat out of my chest, and every instinct telling me to run failed. The lump on her chest was open, and inside was a red eye staring back at me. This is my stage. Mine! She lunged at me, tackling me to the floor. Her face quickly moved to my neck, and I could feel the sharp pain of her teeth tearing my skin. My senses came back to me. As I screamed, I clawed at her arms, and my feet were scrambling. I managed to push her off of me, and I scrambled to my feet and started running. I stumbled over debris and holes in the floor. The wound she gave me felt like it was on fire. I held my hand over it, feeling the hot blood stream down my arm. I have to get away. I could hear her close behind me. I was too scared to look back. I made it back to the entrance. I slammed against the exit, but the door wouldn't open. Was I snowed in? I slammed into the door again and again, desperately trying to get it to open. Her footsteps came closer and closer. I could feel her cold breath on my cheek as she hissed into my ear. Mine. Mine. You're mine.